On the hunt for a new TV and think Sony might be the way to go? Let's work out which model is right for you. Another year, another TV lineup, and wow, does 2022 bring about some exciting additions. From Sony's smallest ever OLED to their first ever QD OLED and mini LED models, plus upgrades on Sony's Cognitive XR processor, there's a lot to cover. Now you guys know the drill by now. While we do sell Sony TVs alongside other brands, we create guides like these not to sell you the most expensive TV we can, but to help break down the jargon and help you find the best option for your home and budget, as it can get a little bit confusing. Now these here are the main models to know this year, and they can be split up like this. So we've got LED, full array LED, mini LED, 4K and 8K, OLED and QD OLED. We will be focusing more on the X90K and above. However, I'll give you some basic info on the lower models too if you're on a tighter budget or looking for a secondary space. Now, a big disclaimer that TV pricing fluctuates pretty regularly, so the prices in this video are correct at the time of filming to give you an indication, but I'll link everything below for you so you can stay right up to date with the most recent pricing. So first thing to clear up then, names. Now, TV manufacturers have a habit of keeping us on our toes with long TV names, which can make it really hard to know which model is which. So let's get an example here then. XR48A90KU. Now straight away we can forget about the U, as that's not important. The XR at the front refers to Sony's XR processor in selected TVs, but it's this bit in the middle that we're most interested in. So 48 is the screen size in inches, 48 inches in this example. The A is the TV panel type, A is for OLED, X is for LED. The 90 is the specific TV model, and this number increases as you go up in the range. So A90 would be a step up from A80. And finally, the K indicates the year. So all 2022 models have a K in them, and J was 2021. So that should help you differentiate when you're looking at different options. I'm going to skip past the entry-level X72K, which is an Android TV. And while it is a 4K HDR LED model, if budget allows, we would recommend looking above this TV to the X80 range, as this sees a big jump up in performance. So the X80 range includes 80, 81, 85 and 89, and it can be a little bit tricky to work out the differences. They all offer that 4K HDR LED panel, but we now step up to Sony's processor X1. And the processor is so important in a TV, as it's responsible for a lot of what you see, including things like the richness of the colour, reducing noise and picking up extra details in the picture. Now these models also see the introduction of the Google TV interface, which is a pretty big jump up from the Android interface. Now there are a few differences to highlight. So firstly, the X80K and X81K have a 50Hz panel, whereas the X85K and X89K offer a 100Hz panel. A 100Hz panel is going to offer a smoother performance than a 50Hz panel, so better for sports, action sequences and those kind of things. These panels are technically 60 and 120 Hz, but can run in 50 Hz and 100 Hz, which better matches the UK broadcast frame rates of 25 and 50 Hz. Now Sony also offer motion flow technology, which enhances motion further by adding extra frames between the original ones for even smoother performance. Now these enhancements get better as you go up the 80 series, and all you really need to know is that the motion will be better on the X89K than the X80K. Now, if you're a gamer, then it's also worth noting that all of these TVs offer ALLM in HDMI 2.1 and auto HDR tone mapping, but the X85K or above would be better options for gaming with a 120Hz panel and VRR. Overall, for what we would still consider entry level for Sony, those looking for a 4K LED TV would get a decent performance from any of these models. Next, we move up to full array LED with the X90K, which is where we truly step out of entry level and into higher performance. One of the key differences is in the panel, as we now benefit from full array, where the pixels are no longer lit around the edge of the TV, but behind the screen. Now this layout means you can get a much cleaner, higher quality image and an overall brighter picture. Local dimming is also more targeted, so you tend to find that images are darker, deeper and richer, adding to the sense of realism from the TV. This X90K replaces the very popular X90J from 2021, and it sits below the pricier technology of OLED and mini LED while offering really great performance. The X90K is also the start of Sony's Bravia range of TVs, where we see the introduction of Sony's Cognitive Bravia XR processor in this model, which I do just want to expand on very quickly. Released a few years back, the XR processor is a clear step up from the X1 processor and is now in phase 2, which means they've made a few extra tweaks. All I want to highlight are the 3 main upgrades that we've noticed from testing. Firstly, the colours are definitely enhanced with a broader colour curve, meaning you can pick up extra details and textures in content. Secondly, they've added depth mapping, where the TV can provide a better depth of field for a more lifelike image. And finally, it's got even better at working out where your eyes should be focused to give it more emphasis and attention. So overall, you're getting a more realistic, true-to-life picture from this processor, and all the TVs from here up benefit from this. Alongside the XR processor, the X90K and above also get access to Sony's Bravia core streaming service, where you can stream Sony content for free in up to 80 megabits per second, depending on your internet connection. So higher quality than the likes of Netflix and Disney+. Back to the X90K then. There's other tech going on here to offer a boosted performance, including some specific Sony terms such as XR Color, XR Contrast Booster, and XR Clarity, but you can get a bit bogged down in tech jargon. Overall, you just need to know that this TV offers a great full array LED performance, and in particular performs well in a brighter space. We see the introduction of Sony's new simple premium backlit aluminium remote with this model, and all those above with the exception of the A75K. This new design is simplified from previous versions to allow for a smaller remote, doing away with the numbers, and the backlight is handy for evening viewing. Now you do get a basic numbered remote included in the box too, if that's something that you'd still make use of. We also get acoustic multi-audio on this TV, which is where the sound actually emanates from behind the screen itself, and it has 2 full-range 10-watt bass reflex speakers and 2 5-watt tweeters. This TV and all the models above also benefit from Sony's 3D surround upscaling to virtually enhance performance to offer more of a surround sound experience, and while the sound is pretty immersive from a TV alone, it's not comparable with dedicated speakers. We've also got acoustic center sync, so if you were to connect up a Sony soundbar, the TV speakers won't just cut off but work alongside the soundbar to better match the audio with what you're watching. Now this does only work with Sony soundbars though, so if you use something like a Sonos Beam like we have here, then you won't benefit from that. And again, this is in all the models from here up. The X90K is available in a range of size options and prices, which I'll flash up for you now. Next up, it's a Sony first, the X95K, their first 4K mini LED TV. What's mini LED, I hear you ask? Well, it's as simple as it sounds. Lots of mini LEDs. Similar to full array, LEDs sit behind the screen, but this time they're smaller and there's a lot more of them packed together. This offers a considerable step up in performance with much smaller dimming zones, and we get an overall brighter backlight for a brighter and more vivid picture. Now, as there are so many LEDs, you do need to combat the brightness for a tighter control over blooming. So Sony have introduced something called Backlight Master Drive on this model, which uses a unique local dimming algorithm to control the LEDs for more precise control over the picture. Now, we're yet to run a full test on this model, so can't share our thoughts on how effective that is just yet, but from what we've seen, it's certainly a step up in performance from full array. In terms of sound performance, it's also acoustic multi-audio, but we get 2 10-watt mid-range speakers, 2 10-watt tweeters, and 2 10-watt subwoofers, so a step up in performance over the X90K there. As mini LED is new technology, and this is Sony's flagship LED TV, the X95K does come with a step up in price and is available in only larger screen sizes of 75 and 85 inch. Now for us, as this TV offers a bright performance, it's a great choice for dark rooms or bright spaces, making it very versatile, but you will only really be considering this TV if you've got a pretty decent size space and budget, and if you're looking for close to OLED performance in a brighter space. It's great tech to be seeing on the market, but I think mini LED has another year or two before becoming a sensible option for the majority of us in terms of price and size options. And while mini LED is a great move forward for LED TVs, if you want pixel perfect performance, then you're still going to want to look at OLED. So let's check out your options. This year, there's a lot of change in Sony's OLED options. We've gone from 3 options in 2021, the A80J, A9 and A90J, to 5 options in 2022. So we've now got an entry-level OLED, the A75K, as well as an A80K and A90K. Now the A90J is also continuing this year, and finally a new QD OLED option, the A95K. So lots of choice then, so which should you go for? Now we have done a video on the differences between OLED and full array LED here, but in a nutshell, unlike LED screens, OLEDs don't require a backlight as the individual diodes emit their own light. Now one huge benefit of this is that each diode can be turned completely on and off, giving more control over the picture, pure blacks and almost perfect contrast ratios, so the colour accuracy is also a lot better. OLED has been a bit of a buzzword over the last few years and is where we're seeing some real advancements in picture quality, with brands like Sony and LG competing for the best OLEDs year on year, which makes for some great releases. Now traditionally, OLEDs struggle to reach the same brightness levels as LEDs, so some people advise going for LEDs in brighter rooms and OLEDs for darker rooms or more evening viewing. Now Sony have worked on the brightness of their 2022 OLED, so for example the A80K will offer a brighter picture over its 2021 predecessor, the A80J, due to Sony's latest high luminance OLED panel. So the A75K is the entry OLED option available in 55-inch and 65-inch sizes. Now normally for TV manufacturers to add an entry-level OLED to a lineup, they've had to drop down the tech or performance. However, Sony have decided not to go down that route. So the A75K and A80K actually offer the same visual performance. Instead, Sony have sacrificed on the build quality of the A75K, using more plastic, and the feet are fixed, so no option to raise the TV or move the feet in. Now they've also dropped down on the sound performance slightly from the A80K. So both offer acoustic surface audio plus, which means that the screen itself becomes the speaker with actuators. So both have 3 10-watt actuators, but the A80K has an additional 2 10-watt subwoofers too. And finally, you don't get that new simple backlit Sony remote with this TV. Instead, it's the standard brushed silver one that we have here. Now the A80K is available in 3 screen size options, 55-inch, 65-inch and 77-inch, and has the classic one slate design, giving it that slim, sleek appearance. Now visually, as I mentioned, it's more premium than the A75K with a more premium build quality. And we've also got a 3-way stand design and the premium remote. Now it's also got that enhanced sound performance with the additional subs too. However, visually, there are no improvements. So here's how to make your decision. If you want a more premium finish, need to adjust the stand to accommodate a soundbar or narrow TV stand, or want an impressive sound performance from the TV speakers, then go for the A80K. If you're not too bothered about the finish, will be wall mounting the TV or have a standard size stand and aren't too fussed on sound performance, then save yourself some money and go for the A75K. Okay, on to the A90K. Sony's 2 smallest OLED options, available in 42-inch and 48-inch only. And we do have a full in-depth review on this model here if you're interested in checking that out. It's important to note that this model is only for those looking for a smaller model while retaining the benefits of OLED. If you know you want a bigger TV, then this won't be for you. However, this was an exciting launch for Sony, as the 42-inch model is their smallest ever OLED, and the 48-inch is the upgrade from the 2020 award-winning 48-inch A9, which continued into 2021. Now this model essentially takes the performance of Sony OLED and puts it into smaller screen sizes, making it a great option for a smaller space. Now because the diodes are more tightly packed together in these smaller screens, they aren't quite as bright as the larger OLED models, but we were impressed in our testing at the performance, and it's certainly a step up from the 2020 A9. The A90K is a master series from Sony, which means it's been calibrated for an enhanced performance straight out of the box. In terms of spec differences from the A80K, the A90K has a built-in mic, more Bravia core credits and a nicer stand. However, in terms of visuals, it looks like the A80K and A90K offer a pretty comparable performance, with the only exception being a higher motion flow frequency in the A90K, which should provide a slightly smoother performance. This model and the models above are also Master Series TVs, and Sony state these TVs are precisely calibrated at the factory for white balance and uniformity to meet the needs of professional creators and ensure consistently high performance. This TV is also Sony's recommendation for gaming, with the smaller screen size alongside support for 120 frames per second with HDMI 2.1, VRR and ALLM. Now in terms of sound performance, we have acoustic surface audio plus again, but due to the smaller screen size, we have 2 10-watt actuators and 1 5-watt subwoofer. Now one design feature worth highlighting is that this TV can sit flat down like this, or you can raise it to accommodate a soundbar, and I think either option looks really neat, and it's certainly a premium finish. Now, interestingly, Sony have decided to keep the 2021 A90J on into 2022, and it's available in 55-inch, 65-inch, and 83-inch. These are now pretty heavily reduced, so you can pick up a decent bargain there. Now, this was Sony's flagship OLED last year, and it's still a fantastic TV, so if you can get a good deal on one, then that might be worth considering. Now, it doesn't benefit from the upgrades to the cognitive processor XR, but otherwise it's still a flagship Sony TV. Now, we've also got Acoustic Surface Audio Plus on this TV with two 20-watt actuators and two 10-watt subwoofers on the 55 and 65-inch models, and then an additional two subs on the 83-inch. The A90J also offers center speaker mode, where it can be used in a home theater setup as the center channel. Right, on to one of the most talked about and hyped up models in the 2022 lineup, the QD OLED A95K. Now, to prevent any confusion, we're in the same space where we film with the A90J, but because we're in our showroom, this is where we put all of our flagship models as and when they come in. So we've swapped out for the A95K. Now, this is Sony's flagship TV this year, available in 55 and 65-inch only. So first things first, what is QD OLED and how is it different from OLED? Now, this can quite quickly become a bit complex once you step into the jargon, so I'm just going to keep this as basic as possible for you guys. So traditional OLED TVs have a color filter which sits behind the screen, and this requires a white light to be pushed through. Now, the OLED panel at the back is blue. Therefore, you need to add extra layers to make it white, and all of those layers are what suppresses brightness, which, as mentioned, is a common downside to OLEDs. Now, QD OLED takes away the need for filters and the need for white light, and instead keeps the blue OLED panel and simply adds in green and red quantum dots to provide the color spectrum. This means that you're going to get an overall brighter picture, better availability of colors, and you won't get washed out whites, which can happen with traditional OLEDs. Simply, this is the best OLED panel you can buy from Sony right now. Now, this model includes a heat diffusion sheet, which you also get on the A90J, and this ensures that there's uniformity in the heat across the screen to protect from image retention. Sony also does have some other clever tech to combat image retention. So we get temperature distribution mapping in all of their OLED models, which protects the screen from getting too hot. And it has some other clever tech, which moves the whole image by 1 pixel to, again, help reduce the risk of the dreaded burn-in in OLEDs. In terms of sound quality on the A95K, we've still got Acoustic Surface Audio Plus, but there are only 2 actuators in this screen, not 3 like with the A80K. However, these are 20 watt, not 10 watt, so better performance there. And you still get 2 10 watt subwoofers here too. Now, one thing to highlight with this model is the stand design, as it's a step away from their usual multi-option stands. Instead, it sits flush on your unit, and you can choose to have the stand behind or in front of your TV, depending on your room. So this means you'll have to wall mount this TV like we've done here if you have a separate soundbar, or place it within a unit, which may cause issues if it's got upwards or sideways firing drivers. So that's just something to bear in mind. Now, it's definitely a talking point and an interesting design, but you might want to check it's going to work in your space. Now, one thing I've not mentioned yet, and what you might have noticed on this model, is the new Bravia Cam, introduced this year. Now, you actually get one of these free with the A95K and Z9K, but it's an optional extra for the other models. Now, this sounds like a little bit of a gimmick at first, but there is some clever functionality which you might want to make the most of. So this little camera sits above your TV, and don't worry, it's not filming you, we've checked, and it can be used for gesture control as a webcam or a chat device. But what I'm more interested in is that it can also optimize your TV for the space that you're in. So it will automatically adjust the brightness depending on how close you are to the screen. It will adjust the audio to suit where you're sat, and even dim right down to save energy when it detects that you've left the room. Worth mentioning is those last few are pretty handy, and you get one free with this TV. Our final model, and well done if you've made it this far, is Sony's 8K mini LED TV, the Z9K, available in 75 and 85 inch. Now, I don't see this being a hugely popular model this year, as 8K content is still far from mainstream, but if you want to see the future, then this is likely where it's at. And it's also interesting as this higher end tech tends to trickle down into lower models, and is likely what we'll be seeing in the next few years at a cheaper price point. So this is a similar TV to the 4K Mini LED X95K, but this is a Master Series model and supports 8K content. That means you've got 4 times the number of pixels as 4K, roughly 33 million compared with 8 million. So we're talking a big step up in the details and color accuracy. It will also upscale 4K content to be as close to 8K as possible. Of course, these are limited to larger screen sizes and have pretty large price tags too, so unless you're looking for the latest and greatest in TV tech, you'll likely be looking at one of the other models that we've covered today. So, lots of options, lots of tech, and lots more reviews to come, so comment down below what you'd like to see next. We're listening. And let me know if we've helped you decide on your next TV. Now, if you guys want more personal recommendations, then make sure you reach out and our team will be happy to help, and we'll also be in the comments too. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.